I rise in support.
The gentleman will suspend, please. The House will come to order. Please give the attention to the gentleman from Missouri.
Speaker, I rise in support for the Responsible Redeployment from Iraq Act. Mr. Speaker, out of all of this Iraq business, there's one star. And that star, as every American should know and appreciate, is the young American in uniform. That is the purpose of this legislation. I take this opportunity to compliment those who serve our country wherever they may be. Those in Iraq, Afghanistan, elsewhere in the world, or here within our United States. I'm proud of them, and they are our stars. Mr. Speaker, we have been engaged in Iraq since March of 2003. And in hearing discussion on the rule, it's obvious that some people wish to confuse the effort in Afghanistan with the effort in Iraq. They are separate and distinct. The war in Afghanistan is something that we needed to do. The Taliban government gave sanctuary to the Al-Qaeda terrorists in that country of Afghanistan, and we did the right thing by going in there. The war in Iraq is one of choice. There have been discussions and difficulty and debate over how we got there, but we are there. But people should know that the insurgency in Iraq and the subsequent sectarian violence between the Shiite and Sunni is a different and distinct war from that in Afghanistan. You know, in history, we learn from the past. Strategic mistakes have been made, and we're supposed to learn from that. And we have to go to our revolution in 1776 when the British General Howe did not follow up his victories against George Washington's troops on Long Island. Consequently, George Washington's troops were able to encamp at Valley Forge and later attack successfully Trenton and New Jersey. That was a strategic mistake that allowed our revolution to be successful. Lee's invasion of the North, the battles of Antietam and Gettysburg, were strategic mistakes of the Confederacy. And, Mr. Speaker, sadly, we have seen not only strategic mistakes in Iraq, we have seen irretrievable strategic mistakes. No plan for the aftermath, the initial victory. The number of troops was not, as General Shinseki recommended, far too few. The unguarded caches of weapons and ammunition allowing the insurgency to have free access to them, the dismissal of the Iraqi army rather than giving them a paycheck and a shovel, the closing of the Iraqi industries, the de-Baathification, which put thousands of people out of work, including thousands of school teachers. These irretrievable mistakes made it very difficult for us to have any sort of positive success in that country. We hear the call, well, wait until September. There'll be another report. Well, we have been in Iraq for 4 Septembers. There's the old song that those of us with a little gray in our hair remember as the September song. And one line from that song of yesteryear, we haven't got time for the waiting game. That's where we are now. We don't have time for the waiting game. The purpose of this is a matter of readiness. It's a matter of national security. It's a matter that we must face now, or else the strain and stretch on our ground forces, particularly the Army and, of course, the Marines, will be beyond repair for many, many years. It's a matter of strategic importance that we redeploy from Iraq in a responsible manner, and that's what this bill does. And we're able to keep our forces strong. We never know what's going to happen. In the last 30 years, we've had 12 military contingencies in which our armed forces have been engaged, 4 of which have been major in size, none of them predictable. We don't know what the future holds, but for national security interests, we need to have a ready force, particularly our ground forces, which are being strained so very much now. Further, it is important that we pass the security of Iraq over to the Iraqi government and to the security forces of that country. We cannot hold their hand forever. They must step up to the plate and take over their own security. It's important that that happen. This bill, Mr. Speaker, initially sets forth a sense of Congress that the authorization for use of military force against Iraq was enacted into law in October of 2002, and that the government of Iraq that was in power at that time has been removed and its leader tried, convicted, and executed by a freely elected government of Iraq. And further, that the government of Iraq, the current government of Iraq, does not pose a threat to the United States. And for more than 4 years, our efforts of our armed forces have been valiant in their work and in their combat in that country. We need a responsible redeployment. This legislation gives it to us. It states that the Secretary of Defense shall commence the reduction of the number of armed forces in that country, beginning not later than 120 days after the date of enactment. Also states redeployment shall be complete to a limited presence, which is out in the bill, not later than April the 1st of 2008. The question before us: are we as a country any safer now than we were when we went into Iraq in March of 2003? What has it done for the security of our country? We see the sectarian violence on top of the insurgency being aided by foreign fighters, many of them Al-Qaeda, and consequently we know that the end must be done by the Iraqi security forces. That's what we are trying to do in this legislation. Responsible redeployment of the American forces, cause the Iraqi troops and forces to take over their own security, and restore the readiness to our ground forces here in the United States. Mr. Speaker, I reserve the balance of my time.